Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to day 7 of albums that turn 50 years old, albums that are 50 years old here in 2022. We're looking back on 1972, and I'm picking out my 31 favorites, 31 days in January, 31 favorites. Actually, going to get a little bit more, and today is going to be a perfect example of why. Because we do have a handful of artists who released 2, in some cases 3, albums in 1972. So rather than I shouldn't say litter, rather than clog up my list with so many of the same bands, if there's a band that I really like who released 2 fantastic albums in that year, they're going to be coming at 1 entry on my list, 1 single day. So they're going to count as 1 entry. Today, it's going to happen, right? For the first time so far in the month since we've been doing this show. So this particular one, released on July 5th, 1972 for the Reprise and Bizarre label, produced by the man himself, Mr. Frank Zappa. We're talking about Waka Jawaka. All right. See the faucet spigots there, Hot and Rats. Okay, this is a fantastic album. This right around this time period is when jazz fusion or jazz rock is really starting to really catch on. And Frank, with the Hot Rats album, had started doing stuff in that direction, and he would kind of really make a play in the jazz rock, jazz fusion style throughout the first half of the 70s specifically. And this is one of them. So this only has 4 tracks. And we've got basically the personnel on this album. You got Frank himself on guitars. All right. Sal Marquez on trumpets. There's little vocal bits on this album. For the most part, it's mostly instrumental, but there are little vocal bits. You get Erroneous, otherwise known as Alex Machowski, on bass, Ansley Dunbar on drums, Tony Duran slide guitar, George Duke on various keyboards, electric pianos and things, Mike Altschul on saxophone, clarinet, other things, Chris Peterson, little vocalizations, Joel Peskin, tenor sax, Jeff Simmons, Hawaiian guitar, little vocal bits, Sneaky Pete Kleinow, pedal steel guitar, Janet Ferguson, little vocal bits, Don Preston on keyboards, Billy Byers on trombone, baritone horn, and Ken Schroyer on trombone and baritone horn as well. So this album, and the one I'm going to talk about in a minute, kind of signaled this kind of jazz rock or the Zappa big band kind of concept, right? With lots of different horn and reed players and all sorts of keyboards and a lot of things going on. Very orchestral, very jazzy, and going back to the big band jazz era. And you've got some serious songs on here. Side 1 of the original LP, all taken up by this grand, majestic thing called Big Swifty. Big Swifty grooves, it moves, it pulses, it's got some great guitar work, it's got horns all over the place. Big Swifty is a tremendous, tremendous song. And that takes up all of side 1 on the vinyl. Side 2, you've got 2 shorter tracks. You got Your Mouth, and it just might be a one-shot deal. All right, these are where you get the little vocal things coming in, right? And then finishing it off is the other big epic, the title track, Waka Jawaka, which is also very, very cool. Again, I love the big band concept on some of these albums. I think it works really well. But if you're listening to stuff like Weather Report and Mahavishnu and Return to Forever and Lifetime and Brand X and all that sort of thing, not that far removed, right? Other than the fact there's a lot more horns and reeds on here, right? So, the brass arrangements and whatnot. So, a really, really strong album. In my opinion, though, even bested, and again, it's just me, even bested by the next one, which came out November 27th, also on the same labels, also produced by Frank the Grand Wazoo. Look at that killer artwork. I always love the artwork on this album. This, to me, it takes that concept of Waka Jawaka to another level. And here we've got on the personnel, let's see. You know what? It changes for just about all the tracks on here, but you've got a lot of the same folks. I'm trying to see if there's anybody really different coming up. Alan Estes, Fred Jackson. I'm not sure if I mentioned Sal Marquez before. Don Preston, obviously. Zappa plays the opening guitar solo on the first song, the title track, The Grand Wazoo, which is 13 minutes. Excuse me. Yeah, it's mostly the same players. Mostly the same players. George Duke and Mike Altschul and Ansley Dunbar, Ken Schroyer, Ernie Tack. Yeah, a lot of the same people. Billy Byers. And I really like the kind of the big nature of this whole thing. And again, for the remaster, they kind of messed around with the track list. So if you look at the original LP, it started off for Calvin and his next two Hitchhikers, and the Grand Wazoo came second, side one of the vinyl. On side two was Cletus Auritus Auritus, Eat That Question, and Blessed Relief. Whereas on the CD, it starts off with Grand Wazoo, then goes into For Calvin, then Cletus Auritus Auritus, Eat That Question, and Blessed Relief. For me, the whole album is really great. The title track is just awesome. Absolutely immense. I mean, what you get on these two albums is you get these big epic tracks like Big Swifty and the Grand Wazoo and Waka Jawaka are just absolutely incredible. Incredible examples of Zappa doing the jazz rock thing and doing it really, really well. The Zappa big band. I really like it. Cletus Auritus Auritus is so much fun on here too. Both of these albums, terrific. I generally, I get people that come to me all the time and they're like, I want to get into Zappa. Where do I start? It's like, geez, that's like a loaded question. Where do you start on a guy that has an amazingly diverse and just absolutely expansive discography? It's like, do you start him on the more, the early psychedelic stuff, the jazzy stuff, the furious mix of jazz and rock and pop that is the mid-70s stuff? Do you go into the more humorous, satirical, song-based things? I mean, there's all sorts of places to start with Zappa. But generally speaking, if people have a love for jazz, and I know that's a genre that they, have a lot of interest in and a lot of experience in, I generally steer them towards this period, which I think is a really good place to start and gives you the jazz sensibilities of Zappa. But then, the One Size Fits All and all those albums that come after this, in my opinion, are the best. I mean, that's where he kind of took the early period, this period, and kind of melded it all together into this, blending of rock and pop and jazz and psych and prog and just, those are some of the great albums, in my opinion. Roxy and Elsewhere, and all those great releases in that time period. But you can't go wrong with these. I know there's some people out there going to be like, well, Pete, what about Just Another Band from L.A.? I'm not a big fan of that album, to be honest with you. That's the third one that Frank released in 1972. I'm not a huge fan of Just Another Band from L.A. I really don't like the Turtles era with Flo and Eddie in the band. To me, it's too much... too much vocals and just too much storytelling, and to me it just wasn't really a good fit. Musically there's some good stuff on there, but that really wasn't for me. For my taste, these two albums are the ones that are really the highlights from 1972 from Mr. Zappa and Company. So there you have it, Waka Jawaka and the Grand Wazoo, 2 for the price of 1 here today on day number 7. So let us know what you think about these two albums, as well as listing your pick for day 7. So, and visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Stay tuned for another one of these coming up tomorrow and each and every day throughout the month of January as we work our way to January 31st. And like I mentioned, a lot of my real favorites are going to come later in the month. So I'm kind of working my way back. Not that I love all of these, obviously, but my real heavy favorites are going to be later in the month. So you got to stay tuned and wait for those. I know a lot of people have been calling out for some of my picks like in the first couple of days. I'm like, Pete, when are you going to pick this? When are you going to pick this? Patience, my son. Patience. We will get to them all. So thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're on YouTube all the damn time. Did I say that already? I don't know. I love saying it. Stay tuned for more stuff here on the channel. We've got, let's see, Martin Popoff coming up later this morning. So stay tuned. Martin and I took a week break. We're back better than ever here in 2022. We got album homework assignment coming up. On Sunday, we've got Stephen Reed and Neve the Prog Nerd going head-to-head. That's coming up Sunday. And then we start the week all over again. Hudson Valley Squares, in the Prog seat, and everything else. So thanks for watching. I am Pete. See you real soon. Bye-bye.